Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Live at the Waterhole. And what a fantastic way to start this afternoon show with a blackback jackal having a drink in Safari Hook in Namibia, one of the natural selection lodges or camps out there. Not something we get to see every day, as you may see there. My name is Ben Coley. I'll be here for the next 2 hours or so, and we will go on our usual frolic through the different cameras thanks to Africam and our partners, seeing some incredible wildlife doing what they would be doing regardless of whether we were here or not. Always very, very special. But how about this, Ed? Not every day we get to see a jackal during the middle of the day on this show. And what looks to be a rather plump jackal. I wonder if this is a pregnant female. Very difficult to sex her or him at the moment, but looks a little rounder than I would normally expect to see. But very, very special. But don't forget, this is live and interactive as always, so you are most welcome to send in your questions and comments to me. I will do our best to read out as many as we can and answer any of those questions that come in about anything that we're seeing or anything that you'd like to know about wildlife. We'd also love to hear where you're from, hear about any of your experiences or sightings that you've had. We're always up for a good discussion, so please do keep those questions and comments coming in over the next 2 hours. But I think for now, we'll just enjoy this rather unusual and very special sighting of our jackal. No, don't go, little jackal. But this isn't a camera that I know well. It's one of our newer cameras here in Safari Namibia. You can see very, very desolate landscape. Lovely tree in the middle of the water. Quite windy by the look of it. Bit of a dust storm in the background. Everything, of course, very, very dry at the moment. We're hoping for the rains, but there is a good chance that the jackal should be pregnant. They would normally be having their pups in conjunction with the arrival of the first rains, which we would hope for in the next few months. Certainly, we need it in many of the areas, as you can see from there. But that was a very, very special way. Wow, look at this dust storm blowing in. Well, I don't think we're going to see much at the moment there, so we are going to head over to Juma, which also is in dire need of some water. I think we've got some elephants. There's a partial elephant, and a marabou stork, and a lot of fish flopping around in, unfortunately, what is a very fast receding Juma waterhole. That's why the marabou storks are there. They are having a field day, shooting fish in a barrel, as it were. See all the catfish slithering around there as they fight for the last little bit of moisture. So very easy food. We might see that marabou go in and grab one of them. But even if these catfish, if it does completely dry up, they are capable of digging themselves down into the mud and almost going into well, sort of what we would consider estivation, really. So just sort of shutting down their internal systems and waiting for the water to fill up again before they come back out. So hugely resourceful. But what drying up water does need is mud. And one animal that loves the mud is the elephants. We've had a couple of beautiful sightings here at Juma recently with elephants rolling around in the mud with some little ones. And this group obviously taking advantage of these conditions. I see we've had a few hellos coming in. Joanne Mello, happy Catterday to everybody. Happy Catterday to you as well. We will see whether we will get any cats today. It's very, very warm on the eastern side of South Africa. It's forecast to be about 37, 38 degrees. So I would think most self-respecting cats are fast asleep curled up in the shade, but you never know what we might see. For now, we will hope this little elephant doesn't get stuck in the mud as he follows Mum across the quagmire there. Come on, buddy. Keep those legs pounding. Oh, he made it. Excellent. Wow, loads of messages coming through this morning. Morning, everybody. I've just had a little technical hiccup there. I am back. A few other greetings from people. James Hamilton Bird saying hello from Cambridge University. I'm expecting some very in-depth questions to come from yourself. Happy Saturday to you, Fuzzy Dunlop, as well. Mercedes Bean, greetings to myself and the Wild Earth crew and everybody else. Sandy, very glad that you are able to be with us here today as well. Justin Unganga, I hope I'm saying that correctly, from Evelyn Home College. Lovely to hear from everybody this morning. Thank you very much, or this afternoon. And Lady Macbeth, you were very happy with the jackal. I'm not surprised. It's not every day we get to have a jackal on camera to open the show. And Sandy, you also mentioning that, yes, the buffalo did a number on the waterhole yesterday. I believe there was a huge herd of buffalo that came down and stirred everything up. But so the elephants are benefiting from all that hoof traffic and being able to play around in the mud. But evidently playtime is over and it's time to quench thirst at the fresher water.
Join Wild Earth presenter Amy Krantz for an unforgettable 5-night adventure at Mabulag Private Game Reserve. This exclusive tour offers unique safaris, a magical hot air balloon ride, and the rare opportunity to participate in a rhino darting mission. If you want to make lifelong friends and memories, then this one's for you. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Welcome back to another episode of Destination Safari, a show that showcases luxury lodges, their conservation efforts, the wildlife experiences, the accommodation, and much more. We will be covering a lodge tucked away in a little valley surrounded by indigenous thicket that is Bukela Lodge.
At Bird Up Optics, we're enthusiasts, explorers, and advocates for unparalleled visual experiences. Our journey is a passion for the outdoors and a commitment to enhancing how you see the world by providing cutting-edge sporting optics personalized for you, your lodge, your business, or your best friend.
Use the promo code seen on screen at the checkout to get your discount today.
We are committed to creating high-quality optical products that deliver clear, immersive views, fostering a deeper connection with nature.
Beautiful to see these little youngsters having a scratch against mum's front leg. I was actually doing some guiding a couple of days ago, and I saw, speaking of babies, a little tiny baby zebra. I think it can't have been more than about 2 days old, very wobbly on its feet still. And there was a little boy, and he was trying desperately to suckle from his mother. But I think he had a little bit of an identity crisis and thought he was an elephant because he was adamant that he was going to try and suckle from behind the zebra's front legs instead of in front of the back legs, which is where a baby elephant would be suckling with the position of the mammary glands. But of course, in zebras, they are where you would normally expect to find them. This little zebra, though, had not quite figured it out, and it was rather amusing to watch him looking almost rather irritated and disappointed that he wasn't getting any joy where he was looking. I like to think he would have figured it out, but absolutely delightful to see this tiny little fluffy zebra with massively long legs, as they all do at that age. And of course, we wish him all the best. I was actually rather concerned for Mum. There's so little grass around at the moment, and she's trying to produce enough milk, obviously to feed that little one. Slightly early in the season, but he looked in good health. But yeah, very unsteady on his legs. But that was a real highlight actually, as the 3 days that I spent out on a place called Makalali Game Reserve, not too far from Hoodspruit. We did see some baby ellies as well, most of them clustered around the river for obvious reasons, for food and water. From Lenny, who's saying that you recently saw a documentary on the Okavango Delta and saw leopards hunting by jumping out of trees onto prey. Wanting to know if I've ever seen anything like that. I'm aware that it has been documented, and I know particularly up in the Delta area, it's been seen a few times, but not something that I've ever seen. No, most of the few of hunts or successful hunts from leopard I've seen have been the classic stalking, speaking of stalks, classic stalking of the prey and an ambush. I have never seen one officially jump out of a tree onto an impala or anything, but it is something that I would, of course, love to see. It must be an incredible thing to witness firsthand. I have seen footage of it being done, certainly, but I don't think it's something or a type of behavior that we see very often down here in South Africa. I would imagine it's potentially even a learned behavior, possibly passed on from generation to generation of a successful hunting strategy. But yeah, very, very amazing to see the agility and the resilience of those things. Belinda, if her mother cannot produce milk, then oh, close up of an elephant's ear came past. Oh, look at there's a couple of tiny little ones coming. Um, if a mum can't produce milk, then regrettably, it is not good news for the little one. In certain species, you might get a bit of surrogacy of another female who's lactating, also assisting. That sort of thing has been recorded in elephants. It certainly happens in lions with what's known as allosuckling. But yes, it's generally not a good thing. At that young age, those youngsters need plenty of nutrition. And with elephant milk, because they suckle for so long, there have been various studies that have been done to show that the milk contains different bacterias and different enzymes, depending on the age of the calf. That's why one of the reasons they're very difficult to raise in captivity from sort of creating artificial formula for baby elephants, because it has to be adapted as the elephant is growing, its requirements change. Mum's body handles that sort of on a natural basis. The milk will change as the youngster ages, but very difficult to synthesize when producing formula. So, regrettably, if mum is not producing a sufficient amount of milk, it's generally not a good omen for that youngster, unfortunately. And Cressida, no, not unusual to see marabou storks in the area. We do see them quite regularly. Um, the reason that they are here at the moment is to take advantage of this bounty that is being uncovered by the drying up water. But they do occur naturally in the area, often around human habitation. They are scavenging animals. They do hunt for themselves as well, but they have learnt that humans and places where humans frequent do leave behind a lot of rubbish. So we do see them relatively regularly. They're also often present at carcasses, standing in the wings, as it were, waiting for the vultures to finish so they can get in and also pick at the carrion there. So they are not a bird that is in any particular danger from a conservation status perspective. And they're very impressive birds to see, actually, up close. They are not the prettiest things out there. I mean, I know I've had this discussion before. I don't like this idea of an ugly five. I think it's rather unfair on the animals. But if you were going to have one honorary member of the ugly five, it might just be the marabou stork. They're not the best of lookers, let's be quite honest. They've got these strange red sort of wrinkly heads and this sort of random furry like feathers sprouting off from them and that great big gular pouch hanging down under their chins. Um, they're not aesthetically beautiful, but very important. They help clean up a lot of the surrounding area, which prevents the spread of diseases, gets rid of all of that sort of fetid carrion that's lying around, reduces the flies and all of the other things that we are grateful for these decomposer animals. But very impressive birds to see up close. Certainly, wingspan of over 3 meters. They'll stand. Well, I'm not sure exactly what their official height is, but probably 1.2, 1.3 meters. Very impressive birds, but nothing compared to the height of these elephants. They probably stand about the same height as some of these youngsters, though. Be interesting to see if we get any sort of greetings rituals here, whether this is individual herds coming down or one large herd which is sort of split up and are now, wow, look at them all. I've never seen this many elephants due a waterhole before. I think there must be multiple herds all just taking advantage, coming down during the heat of the day. But they will have probably all crossed paths with each other. There may be related individuals in here that have split off and formed their own splinter herds. You never know. It's always interesting to watch interactions in situations like this. Amazing how they all take the same path. These ones crossing on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see the little elephant path that's been created there. And they're all taking the path of least resistance, how game trails are formed and kept open. Animals generally always taking the same routes. Sometime in the case of elephants, over hundreds of years. I was up at Mashatu a few years ago, and there's a beautiful area there called the amphitheater, the sandstone sort of bowl, and there's an elephant migration route going through there, which must have been there for probably centuries, because there was a very obvious sort of trough pathway cut into the sandstone with the constant foot traffic of elephants migrating in and out of that area, where they'd actually left a visible footprint, as it were, cutting a path through the sandstone. Hickey, I'm glad you're enjoying this. It is incredible to see, always humbling to see so many animals of any description at once. Look at them all taking the same path across the mud there. Huda, you're asking about the studies on elephant communication and movements. Well, there's forever studies going on that. It's one of the most studied animals out there because of their ease of finding them and following them, and their very interesting social adaptations that they have and their hierarchies and things. So there were some studies done recently within the last few months or so. I believe it was done up in Kenya, possibly in Amboseli, where they did again sort of verify this idea that elephants not only do communicate with each other, but basically have specific names for each other, that an individual will respond to another individual whilst the rest of them sort of ignore the signals that are being going, as if one of them was being addressed by name.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube superfan community today. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Join Wild Earth presenter and expert safari guide Taylor McCurdy for an exclusive one-of-a-kind tour. Join her on a real African safari in both Zimbabwe and Botswana. Taylor's infectious energy, humor, and deep knowledge will make every moment unforgettable. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Only 6 spots available. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
We understand that not everybody has got spare pennies to rub together at the end of the month. We're introducing an initiative called Gift and Explorer.
so that those with lots of pennies can gift a Wild Earth Explorer access to those with fewer.
We're aiming for 250 gifts, but the more the merrier.
You can nominate a recipient or keep it anonymous.
It's a great way to share the Wild Earth mission with other nature lovers around the world.
Think perhaps to some extent, but not in the same way that they would be able to understand an animal of their own species. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm merely postulating here, that the signals would be similar and there might be some sort of recognition of the basics, but they wouldn't be able to understand the specifics, put it that way, I don't think. But in my head, it would make sense that certain rumbles would carry similar messages, even if they couldn't be directly translated. See the evidence of the buffalo here yesterday. Lots of buffalo dung on the road there. But isn't that amazing? A minute ago there was 50 or 60 elephants. A couple of bulls came in, caused havoc, and they've all decided, nope, time to go elsewhere. Okay, well, these ellies look as if they've moved on, but that was a pretty special sighting. So we've had jackals drinking, and we've had a huge herd of elephants. It sounds like we might have a giraffe over at the Safari Hook in Namibia. Let's go have a look. We have multiple giraffe, in fact. Well, three. Oh, well, that's still multiple. I'm happy with that. Are you having a drink? And some springbok. Interesting again to see two different mechanisms of reaching that long neck down to the water. One going for the full-on splits, the other one going for more of a, ooh, going more for the knee bend approach. All right. Well, that's also pretty amazing. I don't know if I've ever seen a pelican before on our camera feeds. This is a great white pelican and a springbok. A bit of depth perception there. Moved on. The Inyalas have moved in, or Inyala at least. Looks as if he's almost moving a little gingerly there. Looks a bit stiff. If he's got a little injury, definitely not moving as fluidly as we would normally expect. Don't see any visible injuries. Yeah, shame. It looks like he's struggling a little bit, this old boy. But Minnie, you'd asked what other keystone species destroy the landscape as much as elephants do. Well, just to clarify for anybody else, a keystone species is something that in a particular ecosystem or a particular biome has the ability to change the entire environment for all the other animals. So they would be sort of considered to be I won't say the top of the food chain because they're not necessarily, it's not a food chain, but just have the ability that if you have too many of them, they can have a real knock-on effect on all of the other animals underneath them in terms of what they're feeding. So elephant very much a keystone species because it can um, knock over trees, it can turn woodland into grassland, for as an example. But in terms of what else could have such a severe effect as elephants, I don't really think anything, to be honest. Elephants by far and away the most destructive, but also creative at the same time, depending on your perspective, of course. Yes, they knock over trees. Yes, they remove nesting sites for certain birds, but they're also making that food available to the more vertically challenged herbivores, shall we say. They're creating micro habitats for reptiles, for insects. So they do as much good as they do harm. But obviously, from our perspective, they do seem to be, well, they can be fairly destructive, particularly if you've got too many of them in a particular area, which is why wildlife management is so important, conservation management within game reserves. And it's something that we're still learning about. There is no right or wrong. I can't tell you what the perfect carrying capacity is of the number of elephants in a particular area because there's so many factors that you have to take into account, from the geology to the type of vegetation to the amount of water that you've got. All of these things have to be considered before making an educated decision on what the correct, in inverted commas, number of those species are. All these catfish pooling together, I assume, for protection. Less chance of you being picked off if you're in the middle of that little, I don't even know what we call it, little squirming mass, to be honest. And I can only assume all these storks have very much eaten their fill, otherwise they would all be there, uh, taking as many fish as they can, but I imagine they have very full bellies at the moment.
Welcome to a new era of seamless travel. Enjoy a hassle-free ticket purchase system with an effortless check-in, offering unbeatable value and a variety of options. Redefine business travel with Africa's award-winning value-based airline. FastJet, value, choice, flexibility. Wild Earth and BirdLife South Africa are inviting you to join us on a 6-day birding tour to Valgevonden Private Game Reserve.
We have just had our efforts paid off.
Hosted by the world-famous birder John Kinghorn, who is a leader in the global conservation charity BirdLife South Africa.
And what a morning we have had.
This cannot be missed. Book your spot now and help protect bird life. Join the Wild Earth Explorers program and connect with a community passionate about wildlife. Support our mission to share authentic wildlife experiences with the world. Your monthly contribution helps provide schools and children access to kids' safaris, fostering a love for nature in the next generation. Embrace the wonders of the bush and make a difference today. Wild Earth, connecting with nature.
Every guide in Africa has been on an endless quest for the ultimate bush wear. Until now. Rugged Wear has a huge range of amazing bush gear for every wild situation. In the midday heat, those chilly winter mornings, in the storms of summer. Rugged Wear has the bush kit for every wild occasion. Locally made in South Africa, crafted with precision, stitched with quality.
Basically produced by the skin, produced by the organism, which absorbs UV light and stops the skin from getting burnt. Of course, birds' legs and things have got scales, as have reptiles, but that exposed skin doesn't get particularly sunburned. The reds that we see there is not as a result of sunburn, that is just pigmentation color. But there are natural secretions secreted by the skin to help with sun. What is interesting, none of these marabou storks have the white legs that we often associate with them, because they do defecate on their legs to help try and reflect some of the heat. And also, if you've ever taken a UV torch out with you and gone to look for scorpions, for example, which fluoresce under UV light, you'll also notice that various species of lichen reflect UV light, so do bird droppings, some spider webs, some flowers look different under UV light. So good proof there that bird droppings, the uric acid in bird droppings, does also reflect UV light and is thus able to offer some protection on that exposed skin. Lichens certainly require that, particularly those ones on rocks you'll find will fluoresce, because they are taking the absolute full brunt of that ultraviolet radiation from the sun. And some of you may have heard me say this before, but lichen can even survive the radiation levels in space. Some species, they've taken lichen up into space and just subjected it to the vacuum of space and the direct radiation from our parent star. And some species of lichen were able to withstand it and survived and were able to come back down to Earth and continue living. So there are some species of lichen that are being used in sunscreen and sunblock research as we speak. Yeah, well, we just had a scan of the area, but it doesn't seem as if we've got anything else at the moment. So I think we're going to zoom all the way back over to Namibia to Pukakoyu, where we might have something enjoying the water over there. We have multiple things enjoying the water. Some more giraffes. and some zebras as well. That water looks particularly refreshing at the moment. Lovely turquoise colour we've got today. I'm sure something to do with the white balance. We evidently have a few issues today. I'm sorry, everybody. We've gone to high in a pan in Botswana, so we're doing a proper whirlwind tour of southern Africa, but we'll go with it. And it's a pretty good thing to go and have a look at. We've got some more Ellies enjoying the mud. And now we're back to Juma again. Well, we're doing, let's say, a whirlwind tour, but that's okay. Amazing to think, what, only 20 minutes ago or so, there was 60 or 70 elephants clustered around this waterhole, and now you wouldn't know that there was anything there at all. Things do have a habit of just sneaking up on you at times, as I discovered yesterday morning. In fact, I was out with my guests on the reserve. We stopped for coffee as a dutiful guide whose number one concern is the safety of his guests. Before the guests got out of the car, I just checked around to make sure there was no imminent danger, as some people would have had to have used the local facilities. And as I wandered into some slightly thicker vegetation, I spooked two buffalo bulls, which went careening through the bush into the distance, which did make me jump a little bit. Um, and I followed them for a little bit just to make sure they had left the area. And I saw one of them glaring at me in the way that buffaloes do, but decided they were far enough away. They were a good 100 meters or so away that we tentatively started to think about coffee. And then maybe about 10 or 15 minutes later, I saw another one, and then another one, and another one, and a whole herd was actually approaching us. So we had to sort of get everybody back on the vehicle. And the buffalo wandered past us from about, well, I don't know, about sort of 15, 20 meters away, very much giving us the eye on the way past, but no aggression shown by them. But it was another little timely reminder that just because you don't see anything when you stop, that it's always a good idea to check, because you don't know who's in the vicinity and you don't know who's going to come and join you. But a great story for the guests who had their coffee interrupted by a herd of buffalo. I'm sure one that they will tell their friends about, and by the time they've told a bunch of people there were probably 3,000 buffaloes surrounding the car and pouring at the ground, but all good memories. Warthog doing a bit of a leopard crawl. Nope. It's a pretty good way to spend a warm afternoon, that's for sure. I see you landed, Troy. You mentioned a little earlier that how hot the water must be that these animals are drinking, that it wouldn't be very refreshing. And no, it probably isn't very refreshing, nor would I personally particularly want to drink from this water. But under the conditions that the country and or this area of Africa certainly is in at the moment, you'll take what you can get. And just because the water is a little warmer or a little muddier than you would like, it's better than no water at all. And as unpleasant as that water may look, there shouldn't be anything in there too bad, and these animals have very efficient bacteria and enzymes in the stomach to deal with standing water and the bacteria and things that builds up in there. So they will still be getting their hydration levels up, even if it isn't the most crystal clear, tasty distilled water that they've ever experienced in their life.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member today and unlock extras and bonuses, like ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in your safari without any interruption. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Join now to avoid missing out on these amazing benefits. Help us connect people to nature.
Back by popular demand, join Danielle Carstens on a photographic safari to Mashatu, Botswana. Spend a night under the stars in our exclusive sleep-out hide, immersing yourself in the wild. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Book now and capture the magic of Mashatu. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive. Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of Wild Earth's fireside chats.
At Bird Up Optics, we're enthusiasts, explorers, and advocates for unparalleled visual experiences. Our journey is a passion for the outdoors and a commitment to enhancing how you see the world by providing cutting-edge sporting optics personalized for you, your lodge, your business, or your best friend.
Use the promo code seen on screen at the checkout to get your discount today.
We are committed to creating high-quality optical products that deliver clear, immersive views, fostering a deeper connection with nature.
As you can barely see that elephant hair, they're masters of disguise, considering their size. And so those are the reasons that we check when we stop for coffee. I'm sure it's happened to many a guide there. I've also been casually strolling through the bush, thinking everything's fine, walked around a sort of a thick grove of trees or a yeah, a thick stand of trees, and I've almost walked into an elephant 2 or 3 more paces, and I would have walked into the backside of one once. They are so quiet when they're just sort of hanging out to having that little sort of nap that they do while standing up. Always expects the unexpected. Definitely more than one there. Delia, how did the river get its name? Well, it's called the Olifants River, which is the Afrikaans word for elephant. So I don't know if there is a specific, but I would imagine elephants have always been pretty prevalent in that area, and thus it was named after them. I don't think it would be more complicated than that. One of the interesting ones that we get in this area is the Sabi River that some of you may have heard of. Places like the Sabi Sands are called so because there's the Sabi River and the Sand River. Sabi is actually a local word for fear, which we believe came from the fact that there were so many crocodiles that were seen in that region, in that area of water. So people were very dubious about going down to collect water or to wash themselves in the river. So it became known as the Fear River. I see a little earlier, Jive Bunny, you mentioned the comet. I suppose it's a good time since I believe what it should be three elephants are doing a wonderful job hiding from us. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, yes, brace yourself for the great comet whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce, the Atlas, and then a word that I can't remember off the top of my head. It's got about four syllables to it. But we were enjoying views of the comet here in the southern hemisphere last week. We could just about still see some of its tail just before sunrise in the morning. But in the next few days, those of you in the northern hemisphere, look just after sunset uh, to the glow of where the sun has gone down in the west, and you should be able to see that comet in the next couple of weeks, assuming it's survived its passage around the sun, which we believe it has done or will indeed do so. So have your chance to see a beautiful comet in the skies, though often seen as a very bad omen in culture throughout the years, just coincidentally. That's how these sort of beliefs occur. There were comets seen during the time of the bubonic plague, during the Great Fire of London, during Shaka Zulu's mother, Nandi, during her death. It just so happens that a lot of fairly unfortunate events in history have happened in conjunction with the sighting of a comet, so it doesn't take long for people to start associating them as bad omens. But basically, what you're watching is a remnant of the early solar system, pieces of dust and frozen gases like carbon dioxide, frozen water vapor, carbon monoxide that have been hanging out beyond the orbit of Neptune in an area called the Kuiper Belt. And something happened to that chunk of ice, dusty ice, knocked it into a different orbit that brings it much, much closer to the sun, closer to the inner solar system, where when it gets closer to the sun, that ice starts to melt. That releases all of that. Oh, are we going to say goodbye to that tree? Releases all of that gas, which instantly becomes gas. There's no liquid state out there. So it goes from solid to liquid, creates this sort of fuzzy coma around the nucleus, and then all the dust is also being released behind it, and that's why we see that big tail across the sky. So have a look for it, and you should be able to see it with the naked eye. Long exposure photography, you should be able to see that beautiful tail stretching out from above the sunset, as from the next couple of days, I would think. Can't quite see what those elephants are doing. I think if he wanted to push over that tree, he would be able to. It's definitely one of the acacias, which do not have very deep root structures. So possibly just having a scratch against it, which was causing the shake there. I think it's possibly pulling some bark off the tree, which is just causing it to move there. Okay, well, not the clearest view of an elephant we're ever going to get. I think we are going to try Tau up in Midikwe in the northwest, see what's happening over there. Apparently we are, sorry, we're going to have to stay here. Tau's camera is giving us one or two problems, but that's all right. It's quite nice to just watch the occasional trunk moving around in the undergrowth there. Allows us to use our imagination a little bit more. Yeah, but definitely keep an eye out for that comet, since it's not every day you see it. I think its orbital period, i.e., how long it takes to go around the sun, unless it destroys itself or something changes it, it's not going to bring it back into our neck of the woods for another 80,000 years, if I recall. So, not just the opportunity of a lifetime to see this comet, but the opportunity of about a few hundred generations, a few thousand generations to see this particular comet. The most famous of all, of course, is Halley's Comet, which is every 76 years, and it will be back again in about 2061 or 2063. So we're going to have to wait a little while for that one. But they are unpredictable by nature. And in fact, many comets are found by amateur astronomers because the authorities can't track the entirety of the night sky. So often people who are sort of looking for amateur enjoyment or doing some research on something are the first people to discover these comets. Okay, I think we're going to head over to Cormorant. I think we're going to try the cameras over there for slightly clearer elephants. Ah, yes, that is what an elephant looks like. Yeah, so get out there with your cameras after sunset and try and snap some pics of the comet. I've been working on an astrophotography project of late, which I will hopefully air in the next week or two, of something called the Helix Nebula, also known as the Eye of Sauron, for those of you who like Lord of the Rings, which is the death throes of a star blasting off its atmosphere into space. I've been gathering hours and hours of data on it. I will be combining around 7 or 8 hours worth of photographs to produce one image. Very much a labour of love, but it's a long way away and it's a faint ball of gas, but not every day you get to photograph the exploration of a star. So well worth the effort, in my opinion. Looks like a sneaky kudu moving through in the undergrowth there as well. These elephants are not exactly playing ball. That looks like a river elder for interest's sake, but I think we're going to try and go back to Olifant River, and maybe those three ellies have popped out. Apparently one had popped out and is now hiding again. It seems that we have all the bashful elephants at this time of the day. I'm sorry, everybody, but that's all right. I will continue to regale you with mindless ramblings. Silly Jilly, good name. You're asking what's the difference between warthogs and bush pigs. So we saw the warthogs earlier at Juba, there at Gary Dam. Um, well, they're both members of the same family. They're both basically sort of types of pig, for want of a better word. Um, they do look very different. The warthog obviously has warts, as the name would suggest. Bush pig is a little bit shaggier. I think they're probably around about the same size. I'd have to just double check their weights. Just having a quick look now. Mm, yeah, similar, but a male warthog can weigh slightly more than a whale. A whale? I'm sure not. Ah, there's an elephant. Than a male bush pig. But the biggest difference really is their when they are more active. Bush pig very much more nocturnal, and warthogs more diurnal. And of course, the warthogs have the warts, and they also have those formidable tusks, which the bush pigs don't really have. I suppose a bush pig looks a little bit more like a traditional sort of wild boar or a wild hog that you might get up in European areas. Warthog quite unique with its rather sort of shovel-nosed face and those warts and tusks, big tusks. Giles Bunny also saying, yes, you've been getting photos of the lights from all your family around the globe. again, for those of you unaware, the sun has been going through some crazy energetic outbursts over the last few days, and there have been some beautiful auroras, northern lights, and southern lights, because they occur at both poles. Across the world over the last few days, I've seen some wonderful photos from people I know in New Zealand. There have been some photos that people have taken from the Western Cape, so we've even seen them from the southern area or southern parts of South Africa. They have been so strong and prevalent. I've seen photos from people in England at much, much lower latitudes or closer to the equator than you would normally expect. Was a very, very, I would say violent, but a very severe solar storm that interacted with our atmosphere closer to the poles. So I hope some of you had the chance to see that, but we are in the maximum of the solar cycle at the moment, which goes through about 11 or 12 years, and every so often these solar storms really kick off. But we've seen some really amazing storms over the last 12 months, and there should be more coming. So lots of interesting astronomical phenomena to see at the moment. Rosalind, you're asking what comets can be seen together within the shortest time. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there, but I assume you're asking, are there famous comets that, if we know their orbits well and nothing happens to them, are there two that are close together? Honestly, I don't know. There are many comets, many of which are not necessarily visible to the naked eye. I remember there was one a few years ago that with a pair of binoculars, you could kind of just sort of make out a fuzzy star. But it's not all that often we get beautiful ones that we can photograph and clearly see the detail of the tail and things in the sky. So I'd honestly have to go and check. Say Halley's Comet is the most famous one. The McNaught Comet that I saw here in South Africa in 2007, that takes 10,000 years to complete its orbit. Hale-Bopp was another really famous one from a few years ago, but I think that's 163 years or something, that one's orbital period. So, they have to go a long way. They've got to go all the way out beyond Neptune before they come back. So you get short-term and long-term comets, the division being around about 200 years. So within 200 years, they are labeled a short-term comet, which doesn't really help us with our life expectancies to see them multiple times. But the best thing to do is sort of monitor the the websites and things, because say many comets have never been seen before. Either they've got such a long orbital period that we don't have records going back that far, and so we are seeing them from a human science perspective for the first time. And say randomly things get nudged out of orbit and become comets that weren't comets previously. So we're getting new comets all the time as well. So the best thing to do is to monitor the skies, monitor the websites and the social media feeds and see what you get. But just be aware that clickbait is a real thing these days. And like, for example, this whole thing of Earth having a mini moon. Well, yes, there's a little asteroid that's going to be a few million kilometers away from Earth, which we're now being told there'll be a second moon in the sky. You won't see it, unfortunately. It's very, very small and very, very far away, but it's a good excuse to get people to read their feeds. So just be aware of social media's occasional tendency to blow things out of proportion.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member and unlock exclusive bonuses and benefits. Enjoy uninterrupted, ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in nature. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Enjoy exclusive access to special broadcasts and videos. And help us to connect people to nature.
7 nights on safari during the magnificent green season. The rains have stopped, the land is emerald, and there are wild babies everywhere. Meet your favorite presenters
This is amazing.
and create unforgettable memories on this once-in-a-lifetime adventure.
Thank you for coming along on this little adventure.
The Green Season Grand Tour, only with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Welcome back to another episode of Destination Safari, a show that showcases luxury lodges, their conservation efforts, the wildlife experiences, the accommodation, and much more. We will be covering a lodge tucked away in a little valley surrounded by indigenous thicket that is Bukela Lodge.
Good afternoon, Darkmane lover. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. And Catherine, you hope you see the Northern Lights when you fly home tomorrow. Well, I don't know where you are now, nor do I know where you will be flying home to, but I also hope that you do see them. Remember, you often don't see much with the naked eye, but even your cell phone camera will pick up some of that colour. I've just heard, Catherine, that you are flying back from Kenya to Germany. Then I would think there is a good chance from the northern latitudes of Germany that you might be able to see something. I'm not sure what the conditions are for this evening or the next couple of days, but about 2 nights ago it did peak. And those solar storms can have an effect on us here at Earth, or on Earth, and they can start messing with electronics and things. And I can't remember how long ago it was, but quite a few decades ago now, there was a really bad one that messed with electronics and caused electrical fires and sparks and all sorts of things. Okay, well, these Ellie's have moved off again. Seems to be par for the course over the last hour or so. We're going to zoom up to Kenya, to Lentore, and I think we've got some birds. Some unfocused birds at the moment. Okay, here we go. We've got sparrows. We've got some grey-headed sparrows. It's a very common bird, particularly down here. Ooh, and what Aquilias with their red beaks. I always hold my hand up. Kenya is a long way from South Africa, and I haven't really spent any time up there, so my bird knowledge for Kenya is not wonderful. But I imagine those are red-billed Aquilias, but these are grey-headed sparrows. See what this one is in the back. You do get northern and southern grey-headed sparrows. I wonder if these are northern grey-headed sparrows, which I remember seeing once in Tanzania, but I honestly can't remember the difference between the two of them. Little dove looks like what I would consider a laughing dove. You can see that beautiful sort of pink and orange scalloping on the feathers on the back there. Actually saw some lovely fireflies along the river the other day when I was out guiding. Dragonflies there. I mean, quite a few of the migratory birds coming back now. I saw some mating warburgs, eagles a couple of days ago. Heard my first red-chested cuckoo of the season as well. Migrants are definitely returning now for the summer. It's good to scan the water's edge. Penelope Kenyon, you're enjoying this new addition to our waterhole feeds. Not an area that I know much about, Lentora in Kenya, but I already like it. Absolutely. Starling of some description there. Beautiful. Weavers of sorts as well. Lovely sort of purple sheen on the tail is rather nice. But unfortunately, we've had to leave Kenya for now and head back down to Juma, but that's all right. That was a nice little foray up north. Hilary B asking if animal and bird behavior changes during these solar storms. Um, Hilary B, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but I don't know of any specific examples to give you. So I've never seen it or heard of it documented, but animals are very much susceptible to that sort of thing and interactions and pressure changes. So it'll be interesting to find out, but I don't know specifically whether we do. We were actually having a chat the other night or last night with some friends about, how dogs can sense pressure changes with approaching thunderstorms and exhibit anxiety based on that. We might not notice it, but they will be able to pick up those pressure changes in the atmosphere. So it'll be interesting to try and find out. Hilary B, that's a good question. I might put that on my little to-do list of things to find out, whether there's any record of solar storms affecting animals or messing with migration compasses or anything like that. But the actual magnetic field lines of Earth, which is what is causing those interactions, or why we see them, because those solar winds are able to get closer into the Earth and into the atmosphere, and we get the different colors depending on how deep into the atmosphere they reach, because there are sort of gaps in our magnetic field lines at the poles. Whether or not the field lines themselves are sort of transmitting any of this energy to the atmosphere, and whether that would have a knock-on effect, I would have to check. But our hovercrop looks quite comfortable with life at the moment.
We are thrilled to announce our new exclusive feature for YouTube members and explorers. Join us live every Tuesday for our sunrise and sunset safaris. Experience Tawny Tuesday like never before with up-close encounters and breathtaking moments. Don't miss out. Become a YouTube member or explorer today and immerse yourself in the heart of the bush. See you Tuesday.
We understand that not everybody has got spare pennies to rub together at the end of the month. We're introducing an initiative called Gift an Explorer.
So that those with lots of pennies can gift a Wild Earth Explorer access to those with fewer.
We're aiming for 250 gifts, but the more the merrier.
You can nominate a recipient or keep it anonymous.
It's a great way to share the Wild Earth mission with other nature lovers around the world. Every guide in Africa has been on an endless quest for the ultimate bush wear. Until now, Rugged Wear has a huge range of amazing bush gear for every wild situation. In the midday heat, those chilly winter mornings, in the storms of summer. Rugged Wear has the bush kit for every wild occasion. Locally made in South Africa, crafted with precision, stitched with quality.
Fighting it. But I haven't found anything about sort of specific behavioural changes. Okay, we're going to go try our luck at Nuledi, see what's afoot. There we go. We have some elephants who are not hiding from us. Rejoice, everybody. Enjoying a good wallow. And Diane, UK, you can't wait to hear the woodlands kingfisher again. Yes, very much. A noise of summer down here in southern Africa. We wouldn't normally expect to have them back much before December, but with the way the world is at the moment and weird and wonderful weather phenomenon and changes, it is playing a little bit of havoc with birds in terms of their, not just their compass, but also their diaries to some extent as well. So you never know what you might find with all these solar storms. We might get some very interesting, what we would call vagrant birds that wouldn't normally be here, that maybe have got lost on their migratory pathways, because a lot of birds are migrating now. And it's always very exciting when an unusual or an unexpected species turns up. I myself remember finding a Madagascar cuckoo on Korongwe Game Reserve. Was it 2016? Might have been 2015, which nobody believed me because we identified it by call. I was with some students at the time, and those poor students were then subjected to me chasing it up and down the river for the next 5 or 6 hours until we got photographic evidence of it. But we did, and it was quite the excitement. One popped up again in Kruger a few years ago, so very, very occasionally we do get a Madagascar cuckoo here, but certainly not normally in their standard distribution range. A couple of very relaxed elephants who just seem to be taking it easy, having a paddle in the pool. Diane, yeah, we do get some birds that come down from the UK area to South Africa. Barn swallows, or the European swallow, as we would call it down here. Some of those come from the UK, certainly. Some of the godwits we might also get down here. In fact, there are quite a few wading birds that spend the summer in the UK and then will come down during the UK's winter and enjoy South Africa's hospitality, or Southern Africa's hospitality. But quite a few wading birds that do go almost pole to pole, or at least hemisphere to hemisphere. Redshanks would be another example. And you're saying you have a hoopoe in North Norfolk at the moment. Yes, I believe they're becoming more common. I also saw a hoopoe when I was in England, which was rather unexpected, but it seems they are becoming more common up those sides. So yeah, we do get hoopoes down here as well. I don't think those are migratory hoopoes though, because our hoopoes don't leave. I think they're just their distribution is becoming more and more worldwide. The way those little tips of the trunks are almost moving in unison. Synchronized trunk swimming from elephants. Hello, Mr. Elephant. Are you coming in for a closer look? Deacon, you're asking why Madagascar is such a good place for so many sort of very specific species. Well, it does have a very high rate of endemic species, certainly, and the main reason for that is the fact that it's been an island and been an isolated island for around about 100 million years since it split off from India. So a lot of things have evolved and developed there on Madagascar and haven't gone anywhere else. So it's sort of fairly devoid of what we would consider sort of alien species and has very much its own unique ecosystem. So a real special place, Madagascar. Not somewhere I've been to yet, but one of many places on my ever-growing bucket list, that's for sure. Ridiculous chameleons, like a foot long, and all the different lemurs and those strange little predators. I can't think of their names now, but those little sort of dog-like things they have running around there, their only predator. Oh, Crafty Jacks, you heard a skylark in New Forest in the UK. Yes, skylarks have beautiful calls. Heard and saw some out in New Zealand as well, actually. Dark-maned lover, North American birds spotted in South Africa. I imagine there have been dark-maned lover, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But I have no doubt that there have been some. I'll see what I can find out for you. Dark-maned lover, I've just again done a quick internet search. Apparently, last year in the Western Cape, there was an immature American purple gallinaid in somebody's garden in Claremont. Um, I'll let you know if I find anything else. I'm guessing that comes from North America if it's an American purple gallinaid. Yeah, good scratch to the point where we have to lift one leg off the ground there. That's scratch time. You see that lovely sort of pasting of mud that's been left on the bark of that tree. Homer asking if there'll be fewer marula fruits this season due to the lack of rain. Well, we'll be hopeful that the rain will arrive. Um, time will tell, I suppose. I imagine there'll still be plenty, but they all do sort of tend to come at the same time of year, which is normally around about February, by which time we would hope to have the rains. And February is often the wettest months. January and February are generally our wettest months. So we will hope that the rain will have come by then, and that we will have a prevalence of marula fruits so that the elephants and the baboons and everything else can enjoy them, including ourselves. Marula jam, marula jellies, the locals make their marula beer, all sorts of things that marulas are used for, but they're just a lovely fruit to eat as well.
Join Wild Earth presenter Amy Krantz for an unforgettable 5-night adventure at Mabulag Private Game Reserve. This exclusive tour offers unique safaris, a magical hot air balloon ride, and the rare opportunity to participate in a rhino darting mission. If you want to make lifelong friends and memories, then this one's for you. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive. Join the Wild Earth Explorers program and connect with a community passionate about wildlife. Support our mission to share authentic wildlife experiences with the world. Your monthly contribution helps provide schools and children access to kids' safaris, fostering a love for nature in the next generation. Embrace the wonders of the bush and make a difference today. Wild Earth, connecting with nature.
At Bird Up Optics, we're enthusiasts, explorers, and advocates for unparalleled visual experiences. Our journey is a passion for the outdoors and a commitment to enhancing how you see the world by providing cutting-edge sporting optics personalized for you, your lodge, your business, or your best friend.
Use the promo code seen on screen at the checkout to get your discount today.
We are committed to creating high-quality optical products that deliver clear, immersive views, fostering a deeper connection with nature.
Extent to consider supplementary feeding in your reserve. Very much depends on the reserve policy, but there are, let's say, medications, but there are I can't think of a better word, but there are medication that you can give, or supplements that you can give to animals that will help them deal with those higher tannins, I believe, which I only found out the other day. I was doing a little bit of reading on it, but there are some chemicals that That's not the right word. I'm going to stick with medication that can be given to animals to help them neutralize some of those tannin levels. Okay, we're going to try Lentura up at Kenya again. We've got a few more birds there, which I will struggle to identify, so I need your help. Live at the waterhole viewers, let's go have a look. Ah, well, that one does look like a white-browed sparrow weaver. Again, on the assumption they occur in Kenya, but it looks just like the white-browed sparrow weavers that we get down here, make those rather untidy, grassy nests, communal nests. Ooh, now those are rather pretty. So we've got a female weaver who just flew off, and those will be firefinches. Again, I stand to be corrected for my lack of Kenyan birding knowledge, but it looks like either a Jameson's firefinch or a red-billed firefinch. Just trying to get a good enough look, but particularly vibrant and red. It seems our camera doesn't want to play ball up there in Kenya. Sorry about that, everybody. But I think I'm going to go with the red-billed firefinch. But very, very pretty to see. I actually saw some the other day here. I was saying when I was on here the other day that I did manage to see a half-collared kingfisher and an African finfoot the other day, which I was very, very excited about. And I also did get red-billed and Jameson's firefinches that day as well. Lovely little red, bright red birds, particularly the males. And a good one if you know their calls, things like those little seed eaters never venture far from water because their diet of seeds does not contain much moisture. So they're usually close to water sources. So if you're ever lost out in the bush, obviously finding water is very important. So in addition to sort of listening out for things like frogs or wading birds or water birds, if you find a prevalence of those little seed-eating birds like waxbills and firefinches, there's a good chance there's water close by. You can see now this elephant has resorted to eating some twigs. That's it, plenty of phloem in those twigs. There's a little the transportation system that keeps that tree going, sort of sugary water. But this, of course, will make out or make up the majority of their diet during these harsher dry seasons. Once the rain comes and the grass flourishes, they'll switch to 70–80% of their diet will become grass. Doesn't look like the most nutritious meal he's ever had in his life, but he seems to be relishing in it nonetheless. good bit of roughage. I'm glad you could join us, Cat Fan. It is a great day if it starts with elephants. If you'd have been with us right when we started the show back, what was that, 45 minutes ago? Wow, doesn't time fly when we're having fun? We started the show with a beautiful black-backed jackal having a drink, which was a real treat. We've seen some lovely things today, bounced around between some different areas. We've had some games of hide and seek with elephants. So probably 60 or 70 elephants around Gary Dam and Juma. And an elephant here who is adamant that he can hide behind a single trunk of a tree and is doing a particularly good job of it. He just needs to take a little step to the right and do the time warp again. Amazing. How could a 6 or 7 ton animal hide behind a single trunked tree like that? Sebastian, you're enjoying these elephants at Milady. Yes, it's not a camera that we often spend too much time at, actually. Not somewhere I've spent a great deal of time with Ellies, and you're saying you find them very different from ones in other locations. I'm trying to think if I would agree with you or not. I suppose it's always interesting to see different animals from different areas, certainly. Um, Actually, normally with the lady, we're looking round to the left, aren't we, with that little concrete area. It's always interesting to watch the different behaviors and different activities of these animals in different locations. Different environment here, certainly. Is the elephant still hiding behind the tree, or did it move off? I can't see. Oh, maybe that was him. No, he was still hiding behind the tree. Oh, master of disguise.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube superfan community today.
Join me next year for a magical trip to see the mountain gorillas of Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda and the Carnival of Abundance that is the Great Migration of the Mara Serengeti. This is a life-changing adventure that will bring you face to face with our great ape cousins and then immerse you in nature's greatest spectacle. Contact us today on info@wildearth.travel or visit our website, and let's turn your African dreams into a reality.
Chatting around the fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of Wild Earth's Fireside Chats.
Flying down towards the earth, tipping their wings from left and right, and rolling from side to side, hence the name lilac-breasted roller. But again, very much sort of summer behaviour. I see, not only do I get questions from you wonderful viewers, but I also get questions from Johannesburg. So Nadine has just asked me, why do some birds return to the exact same perch and others don't? Um, Nadine, I can't give you an answer, if I'm honest. What you do find is the ones that often do return to the same perch are insect eaters. And I think they just like it. It's a bit like kingfishers. They have their preferred hunting spots that they like, and they'll often, particularly the bee eaters, you'll see them go off on a little aerial foray, hawking insects, and then they'll come back to the same branch again. It's always a good tip for photographers. If you want to get a bee eater in flight, they will often return to the same branch 2 or 3 times, if not more. But why specifically they have chosen those branches, uh, I don't know. I guess for whatever reason, they just feel that that gives them the best view of the lay of the land that they require at that moment. And just like you might have your favorite armchair or your favorite spot on the sofa, like Sheldon and Big Bang Theory, they just sort of learn to enjoy those areas. Possibly again from a territorial perspective, there might be a particular branch that he deems, say he, in this case, being a male, giving territorial calls that perhaps again has the best view or he deems has the best acoustics. But I don't know if there is a specific rhyme nor reason, but you'll know those perches when you see them because there'll often be quite a lot of droppings underneath that uric acid continues to accumulate underneath them. But what it is specifically, I'm not 100% sure, and why some bird species choose to and others don't. But it does seem to be those sort of aerial feeding insect eaters that like specific perches. Rather difficult, but is that our roller again? Yeah, that is our roller again. There he goes. Just as we got him in focus, he flew away. Well, Spas, I'm glad you're enjoying the roller. Yeah, it's always nice to see, even if it was brief, to see a roller on the camera. They sometimes they do sit at the same perch and they'll stay there for ages, but it seems whenever we do these shows, they seem to prefer other areas. But there are plenty around, particularly in a lot of these areas in and around Greater Kruger. But they do like that sort of ecotone area between woodland and open areas. That's their kind of favorite spot to perch. You don't generally see them in thick woodland. You don't really see them in wide open plains. They like that sort of interim between the two. So this, what we're seeing here at Naledi would be perfect habitat for them. They've got open areas and they've got some nice trees to perch in to be able to look down to find little beetles or potentially whatever else it is they're hunting, but mostly insects, grasshoppers, locusts, moths, those sorts of things. They'll be able to have a better view of things scurrying around on the ground beneath them. Is that our roller again, Nadine? You've done well. You've found it 3 times. Or her. No difference between the sexes of male and female lilac-breasted rollers. Haven't seen or heard European rollers yet. They should be coming back very, very soon. Very distinctive call. Normally heard before you see them, and we get great flocks of them, and then they will tend to dominate the lilac-breasted rollers. In my experience, the Europeans come back because they're a little bit bigger. They've come down from the Mediterranean. Um, then the lilac-breasted seem to disappear. They'll go somewhere else, probably just because of the competition. And then when the Europeans leave, we start seeing more and more lilacs again. I did hear a report on one of the groups that somebody had heard some European rollers recently. So they'll be back soon if they're not already. Unfortunately, everybody, we are almost out of time, but we will, of course, be going out on Sunset Safari very soon afterwards, so do hang around for that. But I hope you've enjoyed today's show. We've had one or two camera jumps and things, but I'm sure you'll forgive us for that. But between massive herds of elephants at Juma, beautiful jackal out in Namibia, some lovely birds up in Kenya, and elephants dotted around everywhere, those ones who weren't hiding behind the tree. It has been an honor and a privilege, as always, to share with you. And I will be back again tomorrow. So I will see you all then. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.